Hello, I'd like to talk for a little bit about what I consider some of the elements of a good education system. I'm talking about the components with respect to all the parties involved, whether the system that we're talking about is public education, charter schools, home schools, whatever it is that is being utilized, whatever format is being utilized to provide an education for students. This applies K through 12 primarily. This will touch on many topics that we won't look at here specifically, such as financing, etc. But just what are some of the components as we talk about education, as the debate rages about the funding of education, about the lack of knowledge, the lack of reading and math skills that students have in so many schools across the country, the emphasis on changing standardized testing or eliminating standardized testing, as if there isn't a base of knowledge that we can and perhaps should expect of our citizens when it comes to functioning effectively as a nation, and not just functioning effectively in the context of being able to conduct business, but functioning effectively in the context of being a people who have a common base of knowledge that allows us to discuss constructively our differences and often agree to disagree when we are not able to resolve those differences of opinion as we seek to be the melting pot ideal that America was created for. And again, even that topic is a whole different topic that we're not going to get into here. But some of the elements of a good education system, just want to run through a few of those. The first that I'd like to talk about is the perhaps leaders of an education system, the teachers. We need teachers who know what they are doing. It is not necessary that teachers know everything, and it certainly isn't necessary, particularly as you get into the higher grades and you get more focused on particular subject areas and the content of those subject areas, that teachers necessarily know a whole lot beyond their particular subject area, but they ought to at least be conversant in a wide range of subject areas in such a way that they can take whatever their particular focus is and facilitate student engagement with other subject areas, whether it's in the context of their own particular course or just in the helping students to recognize the interaction, the cohesive structure that's being built with respect to a framework of knowledge. But we need to have teachers who know what they're doing. The degree to which any system is judged by its product, when we have students who are unable to read beyond a third grade level as they graduate, or can perform basic math functions, et cetera, et cetera. It's not just on the students, although that's something we'll be talking about, but we need to look at what is it that our teachers are able to do, what are they doing in the context of serving as teachers. Facilities designed to foster a good learning environment. Next thing I'll mention is just that whatever the context, whether it's a public education setting, whether it's a homeschool, whether it's a charter school, are the facilities provided, are they arranged in such a way that it encourages and fosters student development and interaction with the material? So that it doesn't have to be, a luxury suite, um, but there shouldn't be ceilings falling in and mold on the walls as students are trying to study and learn in the classroom environment. Do we have facilities designed to foster a good learning environment? The next thing that we'll mention is the presence of class sizes to facilitate teacher-student interactions. The, this is tied to the previous framework. You have certain limits on classroom sizes based on the overall square footage, and then gyms, et cetera, et cetera. But do we have class sizes that facilitate teacher-student interactions, both in the context of a class as we see pictured here, but also in the context of the teacher having time to deal with each student individually, not just those who are perhaps falling behind and need a little more time to help understand the information that's being dealt with, but also to spend some time with those who get the material and just need to benefit from the positive interaction of an adult, encouraging them to go even beyond what the subject matter, what the lesson material may be at any given moment in the course of their studies. Textbooks and supplies that enable students to focus on the subject matter. Our students provided with the resources they need in the context of a facility that fosters learning with a class size that enables teachers to constructively engage with each of the students, both in the class setting and individually, so that they are able to learn the material. Do they have the lab resources that they need? Do they have the textbooks that they need? Do they have access to library materials that they need? I think in this context, there is perhaps too much emphasis placed on, particularly in the earlier years, placed on access to computers and electronic learning. The students need to learn how to read a book, how to search for information in a book. They need to have a chance to develop an appreciation for what textbooks offer, as opposed to just the find and search functions on a computer that seem to provide all their answers at the fingertips. So, do we have the textbooks and supplies that enable students to focus on the subject matter? The family structure, whatever that family structure might be, I'm a strong proponent of a two-parent family with a mother and a father and the children. Um, and I recognize that there are many situations in which that is not the case for whatever reasons. But I think the evidence is clear that a two-parent, mother, father in the house environment is the best in general for constructive, positive development of the child and his or her learning. But whatever the context, families need to make learning a priority. They need to insist on students studying, whether it's at home, whether it's driving in the car if they're taking a trip, whatever the context might be, families need to make studying and education a priority. And the students themselves need to invest their time and energy into learning. They need to recognize that some things will be hard. There might be bumps in the road, and they're going to have to take an extra 15 minutes or 15 hours to work on some material in order to learn it to move on to the next piece of information. But there's going to be an emphasis, there needs to be an emphasis, an interest developed on the part of the students in learning and working through those difficult times so that they also realize the joy of something that comes easily, and the degree to which we do not encourage learning and instead encourage uh, play and the pursuit of pleasure apart from any learning objective. We're doing not only the students a disservice today, but we're failing to develop the um, individuals who, as adults, will be leading society in a way that helps them to deal with the massive amounts of information that's out there. We also need students to test at grade level before moving on to the next grade. If a student graduates with a third grade reading ability, then that means they've gone through 9 grades with an inability to deal with the material in those classes constructively. We need to insist, whether it's extra time during the school year, whether it's extra time over the summer, whether it's a delay in promotion, we need to insist that students know what they're doing before they're moved on to the next grade. This is a broader discussion on actually how many grades we have prior to college level education. It's a broader discussion on perhaps rethinking the school year and how we uh, schedule our education in the context of K through 12 learning. Um, but nobody is served by having students graduate who read at a third grade level. We need to do what we can with all the other elements in place to ensure that students are graduating with an ability to function as graduates. So, as we think of these different elements, teachers who know what they are doing, facilities designed to foster a good learning environment, class sizes that facilitate teacher-student interactions, textbooks and supplies that enable students to focus on the subject matter, families that insist on student studying, students that invest their time and energy into learning, and students testing at grade level before moving on to the next grade. I would suggest that all of these ought to be part of the discussion, the broader discussion that we're having about education, as we also in this context then ultimately deal with financing, real estate issues, et cetera, et cetera. Well, thank you all very much. Look forward to hearing what you have to say in response. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for your time. I've got a couple other videos listed here if you'd like to take a look at those. And as I'd like to discuss issues related to politics, religion, society, and how in the world we're supposed to understand ourselves and life in the world. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Bye bye.